Resume. Hello and welcome everyone to this video where we are going to discuss the four operations of mathematics. They are also called arithmetic operations and they are the basis and foundation of mathematics. Everything that we do in mathematics, the basic addition, subtraction, multiplication and division are these four operations, and we are going to study them in their proper order and how they are done. Many people make silly mistakes when they are performing these kinds of operations. They are called silly mistakes. They are very minor mistakes that many people uh, end up doing. So let's see how we can avoid them and how to tackle these situations. So let's get started. First, we are here to discuss what are the four operations. The four operations are addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Addition is denoted by this plus sign. Subtraction is denoted by this minus sign, also called a hyphen. Multiplication is denoted by this x or cross sign, and it's also represented by a dot. And lastly, we have the division, which is shown by the division sign or a slash sign. So let's first talk about integers. When we are talking about integers and we are performing addition, we can do it like this. When we are adding integers with the same sign, we add their absolute values and we keep the sign. When we are adding integers with different signs, we subtract their absolute values and keep the sign of the number with the greater absolute value. So what is an absolute value? Let's look at the first example, that is -5, which is under brackets. Then we have plus, and then we have in brackets -3. So the two absolute values here are 5 and 3. Since we are adding both of them, we are going to add their and they both have same sign. The sign with 5 is negative and the sign with 3 is also negative. So what we are going to do, since they have the same sign, we are going to add the two absolute values, which is 5 and 3, and hence we are going to get 8. And then we are going to keep the sign that both the numbers have in common. Here we have the negative sign, so our answer is going to be -8. Similarly, when we are doing an addition of values with different signs, in the second example, that is -7 plus 4, we see that the sign with 4 is simply a plus. When we do not have any sign, we assume it to be plus. And with 7, we have a negative sign. So a negative and a positive, they have different signs. And for handling different signs, we subtract the two numbers. That is 7 minus 4 will give us 3. And we put the sign of the number that has the greater absolute value. In this case, 7 is the greater number compared to 4. So we put the sign that is there with 7. In this case, it's going to become -3. Lastly, we have 8 plus, and inside brackets, we have -2. And that means we have different signs and we have a case of addition. So what we are going to do is we are going to do 8 minus 2 and then put the sign of the greater number. In this case is going to be 8. So it's going to be simply 6. Next up, we are talking about subtraction, and to subtract an integer we add its opposite. For example, if we have 5 minus and inside brackets we have a -2, it becomes 5 plus 2. And you will understand how these signs come in the later part of this video, where we will be discussing about parentheses and brackets. So if you have 5 subtracted, -2 subtracted from 5, we are going to do, we are going to add the opposite. It's going to become 5 plus 2 and we are going to get 7. Similarly, if we have -3 minus 4, it becomes -3 plus -4 and it becomes -7. What we did was, since they both had a same sign, we added them together and then we put the sign of the sign that both the values had. So in this case, it became -7. It's very similar to how addition was working, except we are just subtracting. And if we have -8 minus -5, we see that the two numbers have the same sign, but the negative in between changes the sign of 5. So it becomes negative 8 plus 5. And we get the final answer, that is 3. For multiplication, we can remember this rule. There is this rule that we use when we are multiplying two numbers, that if both the numbers are positive, the answer is going to be positive. If both the numbers are negative, the answer is going to be positive. If both the values in, are not of the same sign, which means one is positive and the other is negative, the answer is going to be negative. So this is also what we have been seeing in the previous two examples of addition and subtraction. If we have negative 2 multiplied by negative 3, it would mean that two negative numbers are being multiplied and the answer is going to be a positive number. So we would simply do 3 multiplied by 2, that is 6, and we put the sign of positive, that is plus. And then we also have 4 multiplied by negative 5, and 5 has a negative sign while 4 has a positive sign. So we are going to multiply them, 4 and 5, and we get 20, and we put the sign that is of the negative. So we get negative 20 as a result. For division, we have same rules as multiplication for determining the sign. If we have negative 12 divided by negative 3, the answer is again, as two values are negative, the answer is going to be positive. So it becomes 12 divided by 3, that is 4, and the answer is going to be positive. Similarly, 15 divided by negative 5, the answer is going to be 3, and we are going to put the sign negative because one of the values have a negative sign with them. Next, we are moving on to fractions. When we are talking about fraction, the addition and subtraction are done in a very similar manner. The first thing we do is we find a common denominator and then we add or subtract the numerator. Let's say we have 1 over 3 and we have 1 over 2 and they are both being added. So what we are going to do is we are going to find a common denominator, and we are going to do this by using a methodology that we call least common multiple. So we have 1 over 3 plus 1 over 2, and the LCM of the two denominators is going to be 6. So in this case, it becomes 2 divided by 6 plus 3 divided by 6. Since we have to keep the ratio as 3 times 2 is 6, so we are also going to multiply the numerator of 3 with 2. And since 2 times 3 is 6, so we are also going to multiply the numerator of 2, that is 1 in this case, with 3. So it becomes 2 over 6 added to 3 over 6. And since the denominators are same, we can add the numerators. It becomes 5 over 6. Similarly, in the second example, we have 3 over 4 subtracted. 3 over 4 minus 1 over 2, and since the denominators are not same, we are going to find the LCM. LCM is in this case is going to be 4, and it's going to change the value 1 over 2 into 2 into 4. So we get 3 over 4 minus 2 over 4, and that gives us the answer 1 over 4, as the numerators are subtracted from each other. Next, let's talk about how we perform multiplication and fractions. We do this simply by multiplying the numerators with each other and multiplying the denominators with each other. If we have 1 over 2 multiplied by 2 over 3, it's simply going to go 1 multiplied by 2 and 2 multiplied by 3. So the numerators get multiplied, that is 1 and 2 in this case, and the denominators get multiplied, that is 2 and 3 in this case, and 1 over 2 time over 1 times 2 over 2 times 3 gives us 2 over 6, that is, it can be simplified into 1 over 3. That is an example. And next we have division. Division is done basically through multiplication. The way we do it is we change the divisor, that is the second fraction in our division, and we do this by inverting it. We make the denominator the numerator and numerator the denominator. Let's look at this example. We have 1 over 2 divided by 1 over 4. The way we do this is we keep 1 over 2 as it is, and we invert the 1 over 4, so it becomes 4 over 1, or simply 4. So it becomes 1 over 2 multiplied by 4 over 1. And when we multiply the numerators with each other, it becomes 1 times 4, that is 4, and the denominator becomes 2 multiplied by 1, that is 2. So 4 over 2 is what we get, and it can be simplified into simply 2. One thing to note here is that whole numbers are converted to improper fractions to be solved and multiplied or divided or added or subtracted. Next up, we have decimals. When we are talking about addition and subtraction of decimals, we align the decimal points and then we add and subtract as with whole numbers. For example, if we have 2.5 plus 1.75, we get 4.25. And how we get this is, let's say we break 2.5 into 2 and 5, and we break 1.75 into 1 and 75. So that leaves us with 2 and 1 that can be added to get 3. And then 0 0.5 can be added to 0.75 to give us 1.25. And then we add both the numbers. So it becomes 3 plus 1.25. That gives us 4.25 as a final answer. If we look at the second example, that is a more simpler demonstration. We have 3.8 minus 1.2. So we can subtract the decimal points from each other, and then we can subtract the whole values from each other. So we can do 0.8 minus 0.2, that will give us 0.6. So zero point 0.6 becomes is written at the rightmost side, and then we have 3 minus 1, that gives us 2, and it's written at the leftmost side to the decimal. So in this case, we have 2.5 multiplied by 1.2. The simple way to do this is to convert them both into whole numbers. Let's say we have 25 and 112. We are multiplying 25 by 12. So we multiply this and then we get 300. So what we can do is, since we have a total of two decimal places, we are going to put the decimal next to two decimal places. So it's going to be at 3.00. We are going to move left from the rightmost side 2 places. Lastly, we have 5.5 multiplied by 2. A very simple way to do this, if we have one number that is not a decimal, is we apply the multiplication of the whole number part or the whole part first, and then we add the result of the decimal part. For example, in this case, we have 5.5 by 2, so we can do 5 multiplied by 2, that will give us 10, and then we can do 0.5 multiplied by 2, that will give us 1. So we can add the two results, that is 10 and 1, to get 11.00 as our final answer. We can also write it as 11.0, and we don't even need to write the 0.00 part, but it's better to write it. Next, we have division. If the divisor is a decimal, we move the decimal point to the right in both the divisor and the dividend to make the divisor a whole number. And then we divide it as we would have divided it with whole numbers. For example, we have 1.5 divided by 0.5. So we move the decimal points to the right. So one place to the right, and it would become 15 divided by 5. And if we do 15 divided by 5, we get 3. And the point in this case does not matter, because if we were to put it move the decimal one place to the left in both the divisor and the dividend, we are again going to get 3 as our final answer. So this is the case for the division in decimals. Let's move ahead to something called order of operations. There are two words that we use for same order, that is PEMDAS or BODMAS, and the basic ideology or logic behind them is same. The BODMAS rule goes with brackets, order, division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction, whereas the PEMDAS rule goes parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. Now the thing is, parentheses and brackets are same thing, and exponents and order is also same thing. Multiplication and division can be done in inverted manner. It will not affect our final result. If we have a multiplication and division in our equation, it does not matter if we do the division first or the multiplication first. But it does matter that we do both of them before we do the addition or subtraction. So in this example, we have 2 plus 3 times parentheses 4 minus 1 parentheses close. So that is our equation that we are going to solve. And the first thing that we are going to solve is the parentheses or brackets. So the first pair of brackets that we have is 4 minus 1. And we are going to solve this thing first. And inside this bracket, we are again going to apply this rule of PEMDAS. or BODMAS. You can call it whatever you like. Both of them are fine. So we have 4 minus 1. That is a very simple equation that gives us 3. So after solving the parentheses, we get 2 plus 3 times 3. That becomes a very new equation. And now we have to see if we have any exponents or orders. In our case, we do not have any, so we move on to the next part, that is multiplication and division. We do have a multiplication sign between the two 3 values. We have 2 plus 3 times 3, so we are going to do 3 times 3 before we add. If we go 2 plus 3, that will become 5 times 3 and our answer would become 15, which will be wrong. So we have to go 3 times 3, that is 9, and then we add 2 to it, as this is the last stage of the BODMAS rule. So we go 2 plus 9, that gives us 11, and that's how the order of operation is performed. And it is very, very, very important to follow this order of operations. You can call it PEMDAS, you can call it BODMAS. It does not matter. What matters is that this order will affect the way we calculate our answer, and it must be followed in every equation that we are solving. Next up, let's talk a little about a few practical applications. We have temperature changes that we can calculate with these basic arithmetic operations. For example, if we have to calculate temperature difference, let's say the temperature dropped from 10 degrees Celsius to negative 5 degrees Celsius, the change is going to be 10 minus negative 5, and that would mean that our overall change is going to be 15 degrees Celsius. Basic arithmetic operations are also used in financial calculations, where such as for balancing a bank account, calculating profits, losses, discounts, etc. We also use it for following recipes, adjusting ingredient amount. Let's say we need 200 grams of one spice and 150 grams of some other ingredient. That's how it's used. And moreover, it's also used in measurement and in our bargaining. They are used almost everywhere in our daily lives. That's it for this video. I hope you liked it. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I will make sure to answer them as soon as I can. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. If you haven't liked and subscribed the channel, please do it. I'll be very happy if you do it. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.